Okay, today I'd like to show you how to use a common real estate photography technique where you want to show a view out the interior windows. This is very common if you've got a seller that has a home with a wonderful view and you really need to illustrate that view. So I'm using Photoshop Elements 9, which is essentially identical on the PC and the Mac, so this will work on the PC or the Mac. And all this will work in Photoshop as well if you have an older version of Photoshop. So this will work on almost any version of Photoshop you have. So what we do is we have the technique is we take two exposures. We have an interior. First one is the interior exposure, and we need an exterior exposure that's the exposure set for the exterior to pick up that. And we can do this two ways. We can use a tripod and just make two exposures, or if we have a raw file, and that's the way I did this. This is a home I shot a very long time ago, and so all I had was the raw file. So this was the exposure when I first opened it, and I saved it as a JPEG. Opened it again, changed the exposure so that it's exposed for the windows, and then saved a second JPEG. So here's what we do. We start by getting both of these files in the same file in a layered file. So we'll drag this interior exposure to this one. Okay, now you'll notice that creates a layered file where the interior exposure is over the exterior exposure. So we can so we turn off the upper one, we see the lower one. And the general technique, what we're going to do here is we're going to show you how to create a mask for these windows that will allow that lower layer to show through just in the windows. So here's, and I'm not going to do the whole thing because that will take too long, but I'm going to show you the primary techniques to do that. So first of all, the one way to do this, especially when we have nice straight lines in windows, is to use the polygonal lasso tool. It's up here in the toolbar, and there's actually three lasso tools, and you want the last one down here. It's called the polygonal lasso tool. So what it does, it allows you, and let's zoom in here so you can see a little better what we're doing. It allows you to select this window as a polygon. You start by clicking in the corner, and then you click in each corner, and then drag it down, click in the next corner, and you'll notice right there there'll be a little O in the lower right of the tool. That means you've completed the polygon. So you're back to where you started, and you click it again, and that selects the whole thing. Okay, so that can be used fairly easy with most of these windows. The other problem we have here is we have a number of objects in front of the windows. That's always going to cause you much more work with this technique. So what you want to do when you're shooting something like this is to make sure these objects, like for example these plants here, if I would have known that I was going to be doing this, I would have just moved them out of the room completely, or even just off to the right here on this wall, so they're not in front of this window. This one is especially tough because the values of what you want to be the interior shot are almost identical to the ones that are on the window shot. So it's very difficult to select those. This one is a little easier, but still you'd be much better off if you move those out. But they're there, and so we have to deal with them. And I'll use it to show another technique for selection. So let's first select. Well, first of all, we want to add to this selection, so we always hold the Shift key down. When you hold the Shift key down, you notice there's a little plus up in the tool, so that says we're going to add to the current selection. So we're going to do like we did before, click in the corners. But now what I'm going to do right here is I'm going to arbitrarily say this plant doesn't have this stuff sticking in front of the window, so it's gone. I'm modifying what the plant looks like. So I'm making this polygon here, and then I'm gonna rough out this plant because I'm going to use a different technique to select that, and we get back to the beginning. Okay, now I'm still holding the shift key down, and I'm going to go up and use the magic wand. So I click on the magic wand. Now it has a tolerance, or it's kind of a sensitivity value. The default is 32, and I've just got it set at the default. And what happens is, by making that number lower, you're making it less sensitive in its selections. And I think this default of 32 will work okay here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go in here and click in where this plant is. Whoops. I'm just going to click in where this plant is with the okay, and it's doing it. You can see it's I'm clicking in here several times in various places, and it's doing some of the selection. Okay, so now that we've got these two windows, and as I say, I'm not going to do the whole thing. I'm just doing these two as an example of how we do it. And this is by far the most difficult one. You'll notice there's other things here in front of the window, but the polygonal lasso tool can handle those just fine. This one is also, you can use the magic wand very easily to do. But so I've got this selection. Now we're going to create what's called a layer mask. And so the first thing we're going to do is, right now I have just the window selected. I want to invert that. I'm going to go up here and say inverse. So now you'll see everything but the windows is selected. And this is the first step in making the mask. The way you make the mask is if you hover over this little icon with a circle in a square down here, it says make layer mask. So you click that, and bam, right away it creates a mask, and it lets the exposure from below show through. And what a mask is, and this is the mask right here, is it's a thing where that's linked to the top layer, and if you paint with black on this, it will let things show through. If you paint with white, it will keep things from showing through. So what we're going to do, since we've got these windows selected, I'm going to come in here and do some refining. Now this is the benefit of using a mask, is because I can come in here with select the paintbrush, and I want to switch it to black. Okay, so I click this thing, so I'm right here, you can see I'm painting with black. And when I say painting, you need to make sure that the mask is, this mask thumbnail is selected. If you paint with black someplace and something else is selected, it's not going to work. So we're going to make this a little smaller. We want a smaller size brush. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to refine what the magic wand did here, because it couldn't select all this stuff completely. So I'm just going to help it out and refine these. I make the mask even smaller, and I can go in here and erase, or excuse me, I'm not erasing, I'm painting on this mask. So I'm painting in here on the layer mask with black. And so you can get as detailed as you want. In actual fact, you don't have to worry about too much detail, because you're gonna be looking at it from this point of view, and you won't see a huge amount of detail. As you can see, we can now go in here, and there are some more refinements that we need. We need to kind of refine this edge and do things, but this is the rest of these windows are going to be pretty much the same. So you can see how we use these two exposures to create a great shot of the view. It looks like we don't have windows here. And again, you can do this with lighting, but if you don't know how to do it with lighting, this is kind of the second best method, and it's very commonly used in real estate photography.